grand finale of BOLTV Asks. We've saved the best for last in a round we like to call Explain That. Our ever-talented and, dare I say, handsome sideline reporter is out there posing some of the most mind-blowing questions of all time. Will our contestants be able to keep a straight face and explain that? Let's tune in and see.
All right, is cereal a soup?
No.
Explain that.
Cereal is cereal. Soup is soup.
No,
Explain that.
because a soup has to be made from a roux or a broth. Milk is not a roux or a broth.
Definitely.
Explain that.
It's hard stuff floating in a liquid.
No. Explain that.
No,
Explain that.
because it's crunchy.
No,
Explain that.
because it's not soupy.
Yes,
Explain that.
it's a soup
Why?
because you put the thing in the milk, so it's soup.
Okay.
No.
Explain that.
Well, rarely soup is not made with milk unless it's mixed. So, with some sort of blending action.
No.
Explain that.
To me, a soup is not a sugary mixture with milk and.
Okay. Cool.
Right.
Yes,
Explain that.
because you have things floating in a liquid.
Absolutely.
Explain that.
Soup is chunky things in liquid. That's cereal.
Yes.
Explain that.
The cereal's a crouton. The
Cereal is a crouton?
cereal's a crouton. The milk is the dressing.
No,
Explain that.
it's cereal.
Yeah. Okay.
No,
Explain that.
it's no.
Explain that.
Again.
No.
Explain that.
Soup is broth based, and cereal was with milk.
No.
Explain that.
It's just not in the soup family.
Yes.
Explain that.
You got the liquid and contents in a bowl.
No,
Explain that.
because it's not soup. Like, that's the most obvious thing in the world. You're taking dry ingredients out of a box and mixing water with it, or mixing milk with it.
Okay, that's incorrect. Is a hot dog a sandwich?
Yes.
Explain that.
Bread, meat.
Is a hot dog a sandwich?
Yes,
Explain that.
because you have meat in between two sandwiches.
Correct.
Or two breads.
Right, I know what you meant.
Yeah.
No.
Explain that.
The bun is connected.
No, it is not.
Can you explain that?
The buns are connected.
So if you
Definitely.
explain that.
Something between bread.
It can be, yes.
Explain that.
You fillet the hot dog.
Filet?
Yeah, put it on some white bread.
Okay.
No.
Explain that.
It's a hot dog.
Okay, but you can't just say what it is. Like, why is it not a sandwich?
Because you can't hold it like this and eat it.
Yes, you can. You held it long ways.
That wouldn't be appropriate. No.
Explain that.
Doesn't have turkey on it.
So, in order for something to be a sandwich, it has to have turkey on it?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Explain that.
It's in between two things.
So, anything could be a sandwich if you're in between two things? So, like a rock and a hard place is a sandwich?
Yeah.
Okay.
No.
Explain that.
Well, a sandwich is between two separate pieces of bread. A hot dog comes in a bun, and it's one piece.
Yes, actually, I think it is a sandwich.
Why is that?
Because meat's surrounded by two pieces of bread.
Absolutely.
Explain that.
It's between two pieces of bread.
Correct. Is water wet?
Absolutely.
Explain that.
It just is.
Is water wet?
Yes.
Explain that.
When it touches your skin, it's wet.
Yeah.
Explain that.
It's water. It's wet.
Okay, so it's just wet because it's water? Or is it water because it's wet?
It's wet because it's water.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Explain that.
Water is wet. It is moist. It is
Water's moist?
damp. Whatever you want to call it. It's a liquid.
Okay.
No.
Explain that.
It makes things wet.
So, is it wet then?
Sure, I changed my answer.
Okay. Is it cake?
Water is not cake.
Okay. Never know though these days.
Yes.
Explain that.
When it's yes, it is.
Yeah, I said explain that. So.
Shoot.
Is water wet? Yes.
Can you?
No.
So it's not.
No, because no.
Okay, that's fine.
Yes.
Explain that.
Water in its liquid state is wet.
I didn't know you were a scientist.
I am.
Okay.
No.
Explain that.
I think for something to be wet, it has to have water on it. So it's like water plus another substance equals wet.
What?
100%.
Explain that.
If water's not wet, then wet's not water.
Whoa, that's deep.
Yes, water's definitely wet.
Explain that.
You know what it's like to be wet?
Yeah.
All right.
Is water wet?
Yes.
Explain that.
Well, have you ever felt water that wasn't wet?
Yeah, a couple times.
Explain that.
Yeah. Yes.
Explain that.
It's water.
So it's wet by nature?
Yes.
Can you explain that though?
H2O science.
Correct. How many holes does a straw have?
2.
Explain that.
One at the top, one at the bottom.
Correct.
2.
Explain that.
1 at each end.
1.
Explain that.
It's one continuous hole.
1.
Explain that.
It's one thing, and the hole goes all the way through. If it was 2 things, maybe it would be 2 holes, but
1.
Yeah.
That's a really good.
I know. Can you explain that though?
I can't.
1.
Explain that.
It's the same hole. It goes all the way through.
1.
Explain that.
It's just one really long hole.
2.
Explain that.
Top and the bottom.
The typical straw has 2 holes.
What do you mean by typical straw?
Well, if you gave me a straw that you messed with and poked holes in, there'd be a lot more.
Right, just a normal straw.
Out of a package.
Yeah,
2.
2.
Explain that.
Actually, 1.
Okay, explain that.
Because it's 1 all the way through.
1.
Explain that.
The hole's through the middle. It's 1 hole.
The hole's through the middle?
Yeah.
The middle of the straw.
Yes. The straw is a long hole.
Okay.
2.
Explain that.
There's 1 on each end.
1.
Explain that.
1 giant hole all the way through.
A bunch of them under a microscope.
Whoa, that's a good answer.
Yeah.
I got on a dating app for the first time this year.
Oh, how's that going?
Not great.
Okay.